Hi guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll ink our creature of the deep. You'll see what a great effect we'll achieve in this phase. So let's get to it. Lower the opacity of the sketch layer that we drew on in the previous lesson and create a new one for our line art. So let's start applying the ink gradually and calmly. We'll use the line along with the colour, so we want it to be a well-defined and nice-looking stroke. Be patient and you'll get better results. The brush I'm going to use is the same one I used to sketch, but this time the opacity will be 90%. This way the strokes will be darker and look more like ink. I like to keep the same brush because the stroke has a little bit of noise that I like in the drawing. But feel free to choose your own style when you're doing the ink and find the brush that best adapts to your way of working. When shaping the line, I increase the thickness of the outside lines and I make it finer for the inside ones. Another thing to consider is which elements are thinner and which ones are thicker. But there are so many different ways and styles of inking. You can try and copy my style, or you can find others that you like and try to create your own. Just use different artists as reference. Sometimes I like to do all the outlines first using a thicker line, and then go inwards varying the thickness. It depends on what elements I'm drawing. For example, the teeth and the fins are good areas to apply this style of line art to, as they don't require me to ink the whole area at once. So I can draw the outside lines first. Wherever you need, add new details like creases and texture. You can play around with the line to give some special effects to your drawing. But try and respect the previous drawing, as we did work on it quite a lot. But you can allow yourself some license and adjust areas if you think it's necessary. So the lines that outline certain shapes and elements, like the area of the jaw for instance, I'll make them thicker. You can do the same for the fins and the tail. You can also do this with the elements that overlap one another. To make the most out of the line art, we can add a little texture with small lines. Playing around with the ink is great, and it also allows you to explore different graphic styles. In the areas that simulate rock or bone like the jaw, you can add more broken lines and straight lines that offer these textured effects. On the other hand, on the fins, we can add light, wavy or airy lines to get that sort of fabric-like effect that we were looking for. Experiment by adding and erasing different areas to really reflect those textures on your creature. To find your own style of line art, I recommend you do a lot of research and find lots of references. You could try inking the character in 2 or 3 different ways to find the stroke you like the best. You could also check out other illustrators' work and see how they apply the ink to their drawings, and that way gradually create your own style. If you need to, adjust or erase the errors you think you need to. There's always things to correct, so it's good to keep observing and decide if you prefer how it was before or what you're doing now. And this is the best phase to correct any details that you're not sure about. When applying ink to the fins, I think the best way to do it is to use a continuous stroke, but varying the thickness of the brush. As these areas are wavy and quite random, it's okay to use this technique. So, in the sketch phase, we had that kind of double fabric effect in this area. So I want to keep it looking like a thin and light texture. That's why I'll ink it with a very fine line so we can understand this effect visually. Play around with this kind of thing in your drawing to get interesting results. I'll draw even thinner lines for the inside of the fins and tail to continue this effect. Remember though that this airy texture is still divided into modules that we need to see separately. It's a good resource, but we need to follow the volume of the shapes so that it works visually. I'll make these lines thicker on the bottom and on the top than in the middle, so the effect is nicer. And I'll do the same thing for the tail. Patiently draw and redraw until you manage that the lines that separate the modules are visually attractive, and that they're placed properly in terms of volume and perspective. We need to get the feeling that they're part of the same element, and that they follow the same direction. Okay, so now the line art of our aquatic creature is finished. In the next lesson, we'll apply flat colours and we'll apply small areas of light and shadow. I hope you're still enjoying the course, and I'll see you in the next lesson.